All right. Hi, everyone. So good to be back. Happy. Well, look, I don't know where you're joining us from, but I don't know if I should say happy summer break, if you're on break yet, if you're not. I hope you're still taking some time for yourself. I am Dr. Lilly Mbinglo, yours, one and only, truly, backwards finest and smartest CPA. And as you all know, my heart, my soul thrives on sharing what I know with you guys. So you can hopefully do better when you know better, especially if you're a business owner or, of course, down the road, nonprofit founder or even individuals, right? So I take pride in that. Thank you so much for being a part of this summer series. I'm going to be covering several topics every single week. You cannot afford to miss this. If you're a business owner, we better be besties. We have to be besties. In fact, I'm stuck with you, you're stuck with me, okay? We're already cousins on Facebook, so why not take a little bit of what I know and be able to apply it into your business, okay? So I'm super excited about today's topic. I talk about this all the time. For me, business should be something that is beyond just making money. It should really be about building a legacy. And if you have kids, it's a non-negotiable. Like they have to be a part of what you're building. And so today we'll be covering two main topics. The first part, we're going to be talking about how to hire your kids in your business. Okay. And then from there, we're going to transition to talk a little bit to couples who are in business, because I really want couples that work together to be able to build successful businesses, right? We've seen so many businesses struggle simply because there was problems at home, and sometimes there have been problems at home because the business is struggling. So how can we make sure that you're thriving on both ends? So we're going to come to that. But to start, I want us to talk about hiring your kids the right way. We'll talk about some jobs that you can put for them, you can put them in, or you can have them doing. I just really want you to understand how to do this strategy the right way, so you can leverage it, you can build legacy, you can build wealth as a family, and position your kids for success. Okay. So, how did this strategy, as we always call it, come about, right? Well, this is part of what the IRS allows business owners to do, to be able to hire their own family members and leverage that labor in house. Get your kids to be able to work in your business so long as they're doing real work, because they have to be doing real work, okay? They have to do real work. You have to pay them reasonably, and you also have to make sure that you're documenting what they're doing as far as the time that they're investing in the business and so forth, okay? So, let's talk about it. To start off, any business owner listening to me, why should this matter to you? Right? Because I'm sure your kids want to have fun during the summer and they're saying, no, I don't want to go and sit in your office. But why should this matter to you? Well, the first thing is, you don't want to hand wealth over to kids that you haven't empowered them with how to sustain it, right? Not just about building it, but even sustaining it. So when you hire your kids in your business, you're bringing them into what you've been building. They get to know your mindset. They get to be a part of this process. But not only that, you're teaching them invaluable life skills. Because when kids are able to experience the process that their parents go through, to build wealth or to make life, easy for them, there's much more appreciation for that, right? Because sometimes we just buy what they want, we give them what they need, but without that understanding of the work ethics that it takes, the sacrifices that it takes, sometimes you can handicap your kids. And so when you hire your kids in your business, you're giving them that kind of insight that, they don't have to go into the world and let the world teach them that is hard out in these streets, okay? They can start learning that right from your business. And so it's incredible. And then not only that, you can set them up for success, because when you hire them in your business, not only are you saving taxes, which is great, but whatever you're paying them, you can invest that into their future, right? You can put that towards a Roth IRA, for example. You can put it towards a college plan to pay for their college tuition and things like that. So there are so many benefits when it comes to hiring your kids. And I think as a business owner, this should be a no-brainer. All right. So let's go ahead now and talk about some of the information I want to pass on to you guys. I broke it down into 6 segments, okay? Because it's always easy to remember when you have things broken down into segments. So the first segment I want us to talk to start with is no, I kind of already started. The first one was about why every business person should want this. But the second one I want us to talk about is the kind of jobs you can hire your kids in. Okay, I broke it down into different age groups. So if you're someone who is here, who is taking notes, I want you to kind of think about this tax strategy that's available to you from the perspective of, how soon can I bring my kids, and how can I make sure that the job that I give them aligns with their age group? So that way, I'm not just putting something on paper, where the kids don't learn anything, or they feel overwhelmed, they feel burned out, and it's like it wasn't even worth it, right? So you want to think about the fact that if you're putting them in a job, it has to be age appropriate, because the IRS requires you to make sure they're doing the work. So not only should they be doing the work, it has to be real work too. Okay, don't tell me they were doing their chores at home and you were paying them a salary. No, that's not acceptable. They should be doing their chores. So that's not part of it. But we're talking about real work on your business. And it has to be business that is owned by you, the taxpayer, or jointly owned by you and your spouse. And then it has to be work that you can actually prove that they did. And then when you pay them, you also have to make sure that it is reasonable to the job. All right. So what I did was I broke it down into different age groups. Now, most people always ask, like, how early can I hire my kids in my business? Well, it depends. Okay. Now, think about it. If I am into a photography business and my kids are my models, for example, if I bring my kids to be models in my business, well, guess what? My 2-year-old is about to start earning money, right? Because I take pictures of them, I put them on my website. Now they're making some money. However, that doesn't necessarily mean my 2 years are aware of what is happening. So if you want to make the most out of this strategy, you want to think of bringing your kids from maybe the ages of 5 or 6 or 7. That's usually a good age, just because there is more of an awareness. They are part of the process. They understand the tracking that has to go into it. And then they kind of know money at that time. And they're like, hey, I need to work for my money. I need my money. And then they are willing to do the work, understanding that there is a compensation that comes. Okay. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining. And I have to point out something. The team told me that I always get distracted when I am on Facebook and I see people coming that I know. So the screen that they put me on, which is Restream, I cannot see anybody, but I know people are on. So hey to all my Facebook cousins, okay, and LinkedIn cousins and YouTube cousins. If I can't see you now, it's because they said you get excited and you just get hyped. It's true. I'm guilty, right? But yeah, so let me get back to it. Thank you all who are joining, and let me get back. So I was talking about breaking out these tasks into different age groups where it makes sense. All right. So my very first one is the age group between 5 and 6 to about 9. All right. This is where I want you to do the very simple tasks, but things that you can document. All right. So let me give you an idea. For example, you can have them help you in creating content for your social media, images for your social media. Now, I'm not saying that they're creating content, but you can have them, like, appear in photos, for example. That's easy. You can have them shred paper. You can have them do office cleanup. That's usually a good one at that age group because it's not too demanding. It's something that they can do. You can have them do packaging and labeling. Okay, so I always have my notes for you guys, but you can have them doing packaging and labeling if you're someone who sells products, right? I mean, I have shit, and you have the kids like going through the line items, the orders, and they're filling out these and helping the parents to package these things. So you can have that. One of the souvenirs that we give at our office is usually put in little boxes, and that's one of the things my daughter used to do when she was like 5 or 6. That's what she would do. She and her little friends that I would hire, they would put those in boxes so we could use that to give out to clients as gifts. Now she does a little more. Another thing you can have them do is test your product, right? I have a friend who does juices, and she can have her daughter test the product, document it. Like, if you're targeting a certain age group, how are they receptive to these products? You can have them do that. Now, it's very important that you pay them an amount that is reasonable, like $8 to $12 an hour, for example. That's reasonable, because you don't want to tell me that you hired your 5-year-old to clean your office and you're paying them $300 an hour, right? Like, that's just fraud. That's the kind of stuff that's going to cause Uncle Sam to come for you. So I want you to think of that age group when you're thinking about them, the kind of work that is simple, that is not complex, does not require too much, analysis or analytical skills, but it's something that they can be involved in, and you can also document the work that they are doing. Okay. The next group comes from that 10 age, 9, 10 through 13, 14. All right. I like this age group. They are the ones that are kind of growing into responsibility. They are no longer like young where they cannot think for themselves. And now they probably like money because they're already ordering things online. So with this group, you can actually have them now creating content on social media. You can have them shooting videos for your products. They could absolutely do that, right? Remember, with the first group, they could be involved in pictures, but now with this group, they can actually shoot videos. They can, give you content that is, kid friendly, or even speak to parents like that, right? The next one is they can help to manage your TikTok account or your Instagram account. All right. So look, me, I don't have a TikTok account, but the way my daughter rocks TikTok, and she always laughs at me. Now, if I were to get on TikTok, guess what? She will be managing my account because she's 14. So she will be managing my TikTok account, right? She's actually asked me if she could do that, but I'm not ready. I'm like, I can't handle the craziness on TikTok. But that's definitely something you can have them doing. They can manage your TikTok account, they can manage your Instagram. These kids are so smart. You won't even believe it. The next thing you can have them do is data entry, all right, and basic spreadsheet work. I'm sure you guys have seen, I've shared that several times. I own a business with my daughter. We call it Kongla Kwatu, and she enters the data. So when we do a vendor event, she's the one who enters the data on what we sold, what our inventory is. You can have your kids doing this stuff. Excel is extremely user friendly now, and you can have them, even people that sell other goods and services, you can have your kids entering a lot of this data for you, right? And that's something you can track, and that's a good age group too for them. You can have them do customer survey. They can do customer surveys as well, help you kind of track your customers and get their feedback on how you guys are doing. Another thing you can have them do is count inventory and document and reconcile and document. That's a good age. This age group, like from 9, 10 to about 14, 13, 14, they would be really good at this. Okay. Remember, for today's session, I'm not just talking about hiring your kids. I'm trying to give you ideas of where you can put your kids and have them earning some money while your business is actually creating this expense and you're shifting wealth. Okay. And then when it comes to pay, you can start to pay them from like 10 to 14, $15. That makes more sense for this age group. Okay. Again, remember, when it comes to the IRS, the pay has to be reasonable. You cannot tell me that you're paying your kids $100 an hour to do social media content. I'm not saying that it's not possible, but for a 14-year-old, $100 an hour, look, that content really be good. I mean, like when they post content, I need to have 1 million likes on it. Otherwise, they should just chill, right? So, but at this age group, you can increase what you're paying them. All right. Then now we have our final, our next age group, which is that 14 to 17. It's not the final one, but 14 to 17. One thing I haven't covered is all the different legalities and dynamics of this particular strategy, and I'll be talking about that. All right. But for now, when it comes to the kids between the ages of 14 to 17, these are really grown. At this point, they're kind of like, they can contribute at a professional level, right? I've been to companies where you have 16-year-olds that are even managers, right? Like fast food, you can have 16, 17-year-olds that have gone all the way to even managerial roles. So this age group, they're extremely smart. A lot of them are already in high school. They are leading in different ways. So when it comes to this age group, there's a lot more you can do. You can have them now doing things like graphic design for your business. Let them learn Canva, right? There's Canva right there. Let them be the ones to design your products. They can choose the words, being aware of the different things that will captivate your audience, thinking about cultural influences when they are creating these graphics, because they have a better understanding, right? They're like, what do they call it? Gen Zs, Gen whatever, right? That's them. They're very aware. So definitely, people to bring into your business at this age. Video editing is a really, really good one. The kids between the ages of 14 and 17 are really great. I've seen a lot of them that do video editing on YouTube, on social media. If you're a business owner like myself, we are very aware of the importance of being out there, right? Of creating content and doing those kind of things. Now, I don't have a 17-year-old to be doing content editing for me or video editing. I have a team for that. But if you're someone who doesn't have a team like I do, then in your case, you can have your kids doing it for you, especially if they're tech savvy. Why not? Another thing you can have them do is writing blogs, right? Drafting your emails, or even working on things like captions for your posts and videos that you do. You can also have them do your research for your podcast if you have a podcast, and kind of plan things out for your podcast. And you can also pick on their brains for what speaks to their generation. Okay. Another thing you can do is you can have them do bookkeeping support. Even if they're not doing the full bookkeeping itself, but they can enter receipts for you. If you paid for something cash, they can document it. Especially, we try to not use cash in business because you can't always track it. But if you have your kids in this age group, they can be the ones to go in and make the entry for you. All right. Another thing is they can update your website and manage your content. And they can do customer service. They can answer calls. They can, respond to inquiries from potential clients or existing clients if you train them well. I've seen several clients doing that as well. So definitely something to look into if you have your kids. Okay. Now, a good pay range for them will be from like $14, $15 to $20 and even above. Okay. This is a good age where you can have them involved in your business. They are more mature. They are more level-headed. Hopefully, they are not too distracted, but they can get the job done. So you can bring them on board to be a real solid support system for your business. All right. And then once they get to the age of 18, at that point, 18 and over, they're on their own. All right? Now they can work for your business, but at this point in time, they can either be an employee or they can be a 1099 independent contractor. Hopefully, if they're in college, then and they don't make a certain amount, they don't have to file taxes. If they're going to school full time, but if they're not, then they'll probably have to file theirs. All right. So I want us to talk about these age group things. So according to this tax strategy by the IRS, what happens is your kids have to be under the age of 18 for you to be able to leverage this tax code. So now, when your kids are under the age of 18, what happens is when you pay them up to the standard deduction, right? And you know what the standard deduction is for 2026, you guys? You're not ready. $16,100. $16,100. So if you're a business owner and your kids work in your business and you pay each kid $16,100, guess what? Because it's up to the standard deduction but not over, first, the child doesn't need to file taxes. Second, because they are your child, they are not subject to FICA, which is Social Security and Medicare taxes. They are not subject to that. So if they work in your business or a business that is owned by you and your spouse, okay? So here are the conditions. You have to own the business and you're claiming them on your taxes, or you and your spouse have to own the business. So this cannot work for a business that you're in a partnership with other people, and it cannot work for an S corp or C corp. And I'm going to talk about that as we go further. Okay. So just keep that in mind. So based on this law, if your kids are under 18 and they work in these different jobs I just provided, you can pay them up to the standard deduction. So up to 16,100. Now, if you had 3 kids, for example, think about it. If you had 3 kids and you paid each of your kids $15,000 a year, that is $45,000 of business expense that your business gets to write off. Now, what's even better than that? You don't have to issue them a 1099. You don't have to issue them a W-2. Even if you did, they are not subject to Social Security or Medicare taxes, which means they don't even have to still file taxes, especially if it's less than the standard deduction. Now, if you pay them over 16,100, now that's on you. You're screwed up. They have to file taxes. So you have to issue them a W-2, 1099, and they have to file taxes. But so long as they earn less than the standard deduction and you're claiming them on your personal taxes, they don't have to file taxes. I hope that really helps to clarify it, right? So that's our second segment. Our second segment was looking at the different job descriptions, the different job titles, or the different jobs that we can give to assign to our kids based on age group. So remember, you want to make sure that it is age appropriate and the pay is also appropriate. Okay. Now let's talk about the next segment, the legal framework. How do we actually pay the kids? What are the things we need to think about when we want to leverage this strategy? Okay. So the first thing is you want to make sure that you actually create a job description for them. All right. You want to have a full out job description. If you don't yet have my book, here is the book. It's on Amazon. I'm sure you've seen the link. How Your Kids Save Taxes, Build a Legacy. I have when you get into the book, I do have stuff you can scan to get a template on job descriptions. But you want to have an actual job description for your kids, right? That's one of the first things you want to do, because when if the IRS gets to audit you, they would want to see what was their job description. You want to make sure that you have that. That's the first thing. And then, of course, you put their title, you put what they're actually doing, and then kind of how many hours that you expect them to work. All right, that's the first thing we want to do. We want to make sure we have that. Then now, to set up our payroll properly, you could use a payroll system. But the most important thing is that you want the money to actually leave your business account and go into an account that you're set up for your kids. Sometimes parents win this. They're like, I just gave them cash. I would encourage you not to do that, just because if you do cash and there's no trail of you paying them, it will be hard for you to justify that with the IRS. So what you could do is you could actually create an account for them. There are a lot of banks now that allow you to have a minor account. When you pay them, you actually send the payment into that account, right? And then you can use that to put it in a custodial Roth IRA for them, or you can use it to put it in a 529. But at least the money left from your bank, your business account, into their personal account, so you don't have any issues with Uncle Sam. Okay. The third thing you want to do is that you really want to track the hours that they are doing. Don't wing it. It's always easy to be like, they work. That's good. But if you ever had an issue and Uncle Sam was auditing you, you would have to prove that these kids actually put in the work, right? And I feel like you can give them incentives so that they are excited to track the hours that they put in the business. So that way, when they work, they are the ones that will even fill up. Like, hey, no, mom or dad, don't cut my hours. So I made this number of, I put in this number of hours. You gotta pay me. My daughter is so good. She always reminds me. She's like, look, I did 5 hours, 25 minutes. So you want to give them that incentive, and when they know that they're actually earning money, they're going to make sure that they document it. All right, so don't play with that. That's the next one. We want to make sure that we're actually tracking that time, and then we're making the payments for them. So keep that time log. Make sure that you actually pay them. You can use the payroll system or whatever, even if you do direct deposit, but let the money leave from your account and go into theirs. All right, and then you can invest that as you want. Thank you so much, Anita. Anita says the book has amazing text and templates. Thank you so much. Yes, she grabbed a copy of the book. Thank you so much. It's such a great tool. I really thank you. I really appreciate that. Now remember the big one. Make sure that the pay is reasonable. Don't exaggerate it. You cannot tell me that you paid your 5-year-old $1,000 to clean your office. It makes no sense. So you want to make sure that it is reasonable. Okay, so that's kind of those legalities, or how we want to make sure that we're paying them right, so we don't get into trouble with Uncle Sam. So the next thing I want us to talk about now is the business entity. Understanding how you need to be set up as a business in order to leverage this strategy. Okay, so remember when I was explaining, I said to you guys, for you to hire your kids in your business, first they have to be your kids, right? But second, you have to own the business, and you have to be claiming your kids on your taxes. So either you own the business, or it has to be a partnership. If it's a partnership that you and your husband own. Now, from an entity standpoint, this business has to either be a sole proprietorship, or it could be an LLC that is a single member LLC or multi-member LLC, but the multi-member can only be owned by you and your spouse. It cannot include another person. Okay. Remember that your kids are exempt from Social Security and Medicare taxes, and that's because you are claiming them on your personal taxes. If there's a third party involved in your partnership, then you cannot apply this strategy. Now, what happens? Because someone is out here telling me now, but what if I have a business and I have a partner that is not my spouse? Or what if my business is an S Corp? Or what if my business is a C corporation, right? What do I do? Well, this is where I help you now, right? That's why you should be talking to the strategists. So what we do here is we set up something called a family management company. All right, please grab my book. I break this down very well to help you. But so what happens with the family management company is your family management company becomes the entity that hires your kids. Okay, I'm going to pause this right here. Just stay with me. Let's go back. Remember, I talked about the S Corp or the C Corp. Now, if you have heard me talk about the S Corp, if you're a business owner, you know that the S Corp is a tax election. And when we say it's a tax election, it means the S Corp is an entity structure that is set up for how you want to be treated for tax purposes, so that you can save on self-employment taxes and have more opportunities to leverage the tax code for tax savings, for your business growth, and whatever you want to do through the S Corp. Okay, the S Corp is an incredible tool. So what happens when you set up a business as an LLC and you're a single member? The IRS calls you a disregarded entity. That's the word. So when we say you're a disregarded entity, it doesn't mean your business is not registered. No, you've registered your business at the SCC of your state, your Secretary of State. But when you come to the IRS does not see you and your LLC as separate from each other. The IRS sees you as one. So they call your business disregarded. So when you file your taxes and you have an LLC, anybody who is in here, bear me witness. When you file your taxes and you're a single member LLC, where do you report it? On the Schedule C, right? It's on the Schedule C. Where is the Schedule C? It's part of your personal taxes. If I called the IRS and I said, hey, I want to talk to you about Anita's taxes, right? I cannot give them Anita's EIN. I will give them Anita's Social Security, because Anita reported her business income and expenses on a Schedule C on her personal taxes. Okay? So now, but what happens when Anita files her taxes that way? If Anita has a profit, guess what's going to happen? She's going to pay 15.3% of self-employment taxes because she works for herself, and she still has to pay income tax on her profit. So now Anita can choose to tell the IRS, say, hey, I don't want you to treat my business as disregarded, where I have to file with my personal taxes. I want my business to be separate from me. So that way, my business can hire me as an employee of the business, pay me, my business will get the deduction of paying me as an employee, and I am still the owner and I can get a job. So in this case, Anita's business now for tax purposes will be called an S Corp, small corporation. You can call it sub-chapter corporation. But now when Anita files her business tax, she files it separate from her personal taxes. Her business that would have hired her and paid her a salary, that her salary is a business deduction to her business. So before, if she was filing on a Schedule C, all of her profit, she will have to pay self-employment taxes on it. But now, when she becomes an S corp, the S corp is already taking out the taxes for Anita's salary and paying the other employer half, and that's it. And Anita doesn't have to worry about self-employment taxes on her personal taxes. Okay, so whatever is left as a draw, Anita brings it to her personal taxes. We're not doing S corp today, but just to give you an idea. Do you guys remember how I said when you register your business, they call you a disregarded entity? Now, when you're a disregarded entity, it's good because remember, if Anita was filing her taxes on a Schedule C, on her personal taxes, she's also claiming her kids. So she's good. So if she hired her kids and she paid her kids, her business will get the deduction of paying her kids, but Anita's kids don't have to file taxes or do anything. But the moment Anita tells the IRS, I want to be treated as a sub-chapter corporation, Anita has separated herself from her business. So that means Anita's business now has its own identity for tax purposes. So Anita's children lose the benefits of being filed with on the mom's taxes with her business. So in order for Anita's business now to pay her kids, if she hires them and pays them, they will have to be treated as an employee. She will have to give them a 1099, a W2, or a 1099 or a W2, and they will have to file taxes. So in order for Anita now to bypass this process, that's where we set up what we call a family management company. Okay, I hope I haven't lost you guys. Hang in there with me, okay? If I'm going too fast, you can grab the book so you can take your time and read and make notes. But that's why we set up now the family management company. Okay, how does this work? So the family management company now, you don't have to register it. You can choose to register a company, but I personally would not. You can, because with your name, by the way, your name and your social, you can operate a business. You don't have to have it registered. And because you're not exposed to any liabilities, this family business is just being set up for your kids to be able to do work for your S corp. You don't have to do much, okay? So how does the family management company work? So remember before, Anita could just have her kids work in her business. She gets the tax break and then she's good. But Anita decided she wanted to become an S corp. So Anita can no longer hire her kids directly because her entity is separate from her, the individual. So what Anita would do is Anita would hire the family management company. The family management company would still file its taxes on Anita's personal taxes. It's the family management company now that gets to hire the kids. Okay? So as far as the kids are concerned, they are not the ones that are directly hired by the S corp or the C corp if Anita had a C corp. It's the family management company that is hired. So when Anita pays the family management company, guess what? The family management pays the kids. And because the kids are on the personal taxes, when they do the work and they get paid, this is what happens. The money comes in from the S corp, but it goes out to the kids. And so there's a zero impact. No taxes paid is zero impact. But it's just a step for Anita to bypass because Anita is now an S corp, and S corp has a ton of benefits which go beyond just having to hire your kids in your business. And she wants to leverage those benefits, but she also wants to be able to hire her kids in her business and be able to take advantage of the IRS law that allows her to pay her kids, and they don't have to report that income, they don't have to file taxes on that income, and they get it, and her business takes the break. Okay, I hope this is helpful, guys. So if you're someone who feels like, oh, my business is a partner, I have a partner who is not my spouse, I'm an S corp, I'm a C corp, this is how we play. Okay, we do the family management company, we call it the backdoor method. All right, and then we're still able to hire our kids, we're still able to keep the money in the family, you're still able to save taxes because your company will still claim the expense. All right, meanwhile you don't have to go back and change your entity structure or do anything like that. Is that good, guys? All right, so that's what happens with these different entity structures. I hope that helps. I'm going to move now to my last segment, and yes, family management company, I'm done. So my last segment now is, what are some things you can do once you pay your kids? Okay, so there are different things you can do with the money when you pay them, but the ones that always stand out for me first is, you can set up a custodial Roth IRA for them, right? And you can put up to $7,000 a year for them. So think about it. If your kids earn up to 15,000 or even 12,000 a year, and you put 7,000 in each person's Roth IRA, that's wealth that will be building for them. Okay. Another thing you can do is you can start putting money towards their college fund. So there, you can choose an account like the 529, and you can start saving money for their college. And there are several 529 plans that you can contribute to, where by the time they get to college, then their college can be, you've already put enough money for that to be paid off, right? You can also help them to use that money to start their own businesses, or teach them financial literacy, have them go on the stock market and teach them how to invest this money. I think these are some things that, for those of us that are not first generation US citizen, like what does the word? Did I say that right? No, those of us that came first, like our parents were not here before us. We're having to learn these things as we go. And so I'm hoping that we can take this information and teach our kids as we're learning it, right? Okay, granted, we never had the opportunity for someone to create a 529 for us. So we have that student loan, but we can do different, right? Especially if we own businesses, we can now start putting money towards a 529 for them. You can look into things like there's so many different places you can have their money go to, which will prepare them for a very successful future. All right, so I think that kind of wraps it up for my first part of today. Whoo, time is going. So that's kind of it. I'm just going to sum it up, you guys. Please, if you're listening to me and you're a parent, right, and you own a business, please don't gamble on this strategy. It's an incredible way for you to save on taxes, to be able to build wealth and a legacy through your kids, to be able to set your kids up for success, teach them discipline, teach them work ethic, be able to pass on your vision, your work ethic, your values to them. I think it's incredible. Please, 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 you guys, don't play with this one, okay? Like I said, I have this book online and you've been seeing the link. Grab a copy, take time and sit on it. All right. So now my next part of today, I want to talk to the couples that own businesses together. All right. Let me tell you, at our firm, we do registration for partnerships a lot. And one of the things that we always do when we register a partnership, whether it's between couples or married people, is we do a 4-hour training with them. Because when you're going into a partnership, it's so funny. It's like people don't ask the hard questions, right? So when you're going to a partnership with someone, we're all excited. It's like, oh, we want to go into this business. We like each other. We're kind of cool, right? But when business starts to happen, it's a different ball game. Unlike marriage, where at least you have love that drives you, business is profit that drives you. And so if something starts to go wrong and you were not prepared for it, it can ruin you. Okay? Now, think about the people that have to build their marriage while building a business. The challenge is a lot. It's a lot. And so today, I just wanted to touch on some of the things that I have seen a lot of our clients struggle with, especially those that own businesses as a couple. I'm going to do one for people that are not couples, but I want to talk specifically to those that are couples, because I feel like there's so much power when a couple can come together and work together. Now, do I think every couple needs to be in business together? Not really, because you can always have someone that is very business savvy and minded, another person who likes structure, who would rather get a job, and I think that works out, okay? But today I'm talking to the people where both couples are involved in their business, right? So the husband, the wife, they are both involved in their business. And so let's start by talking about some of just the advantages of going into business with your spouse, okay? Can you imagine that shared vision that you have? Because you have shared vision and you really want to see yourself succeed, I feel like the opportunity to win is so much bigger, right? Because now it's not just for you guys, but you also want to build a legacy for your kids. You want to leave something, behind you. You want to build something that would outlive you. So I feel like that really changes the scope compared to someone who is going into business just to make money. I feel like when a couple comes into business, they have something stronger that binds them. And I feel like that's an incredible element to have when you're going into business, because business is hard. I don't care what anybody says, business is hard. But if you have someone that you're building with that sees the life with you, that wants to grow with you, wants to build with you, I feel like it's priceless, right? I feel like it's priceless. So that's one of the advantages, is that shared vision, that ability to come together and build something so incredible. I think it's awesome. I feel business can also do an amazing job in bringing a couple together, in building their bond and really helping them solidify their union. Now, not all the time, but I'm still talking about the advantages. I'm coming. I know you're wanting to rush me. Leave me. I'm coming bit by bit. But for some couples, it's incredible. When they start to work together, they start to realize each other's strengths. And there's this admiration that they have for each other that builds their union, especially if there's shared respect and there is love. You see, they start to see each other differently and it just bonds them even more, right? So that's another advantage. And then the third thing is, when a couple works together in the business, they are able to make certain sacrifices together where one person never feels like they're being cheated in the family finances, okay? Because business is hard to build. But if we plan together and say, okay, we're going to save this amount of money, we're going to start and we're going to be very strategic in how we invest our money, we go into it with that oneness in mind. So that helps us use our resources more efficiently compared to when you have one person who is working and they feel like during the time when they're working, they're bringing in the resources, and then you have this person building a business where it's just taking because it's not yet bringing money. It's usually easy for resentment to build. So when a couple is going in together, especially if they have put a solid plan together, I feel like it really takes things to the next level for them. Okay. And then the fourth one is the ability to also pass this on to future generations. So not only are you building, but now your kids get to see you guys working and building, and that helps to also mold them to become these value adding individuals that think, as entrepreneurs, that think about adding value, making a difference, understand how to treat clients, how to treat people, how to operate in integrity, and how to build something that will last. So I feel like there's so many beautiful reasons to go into business. Now, as great as this sounds, does that always work? Unfortunately, no. And sadly, when couples in business are dealing with crisis, it's the worst, right? So sometimes people think, you know what, if the marriage is going well, it directly means business must go well. Sometimes it does, but not always. If certain things have not been put in place in the business, it might end up affecting the marriage. At the same time, if the marriage is not going well, even business is going well, at some point the resentment and the anger from the marriage will come and mess up the business. So we want a situation where both are working smoothly, like an engine oil in a car. The car. Oh, I don't even know. I should not use that analogy. I don't even know cars. That is so bad. That was a bad one, right? That's a bad analogy. But let's see which one. Anyways, like finger and nail, we're together, we're together. Look, that car one, I was trying to bring that car joke. I couldn't pull it. So let's just keep going, all right? So what I decided to put together was just some of the things that I have seen that have impacted a lot of businesses owned by couples. And I want to make some suggestions or recommendations. Mind you, I've been doing this a long time. And like I told you, when we set up a partnership, we do a training for the partners, both couples and even non-couples. And I'll tell you, when they complete our questionnaire, you can kind of see areas where you already know they might have issues, but thankfully we're able to help them kind of prepare ahead of time or figure out that they should not be in business together, right? Because not everybody needs to be in business together, like I said earlier. So some of the issues that we see happen very often, and I'll talk about what I recommend. You see, communication, that's the worst one. Like it tops the list. I feel like it's like that in marriage, but it's worse in business because when people don't communicate, so many are awful, unfortunately. Oh my God, yes. By the way, if you haven't gotten my book, please make sure you get it, From Vows to Ventures, Creating a Successful Business Partnership for Married Couples. You have to get it. You have to get it. You guys know me. I like to pour all I know. Grab it. Before I continue to talk about this, let me tell you something about this book, guys. I have so many tax strategies in here. It's going to blow your mind away. This is summer. You want to grab it. You want to go through the tax strategies and you want to leverage this for your family right now. I don't want to forget that. Okay. So one of the main issues we always see is the poor communication, which is unfortunate, right? The second one is unclear expectations. Oh my God. The number of times people said, I thought you were going to do this, or I expected you to do this, but those expectations were not communicated. I wish I could save $1 for every time I hear those things. Unfortunately, I haven't been saving $1. I would have been a millionaire. I would not even be talking to you people right now. I'm just joking. But you get the idea. And then, the big one, power struggles. You guys, no business relationship or partnership struggles with power issues like married people, right? Now, the thing that happens for the most part is in a traditional marriage, there are roles, which is great because I'm a believer in marriage as ordained by God. But you see, when it comes to business, it's a very different dynamic because we have to focus on what? Our strengths and value adding, right? And sometimes that doesn't always translate in what role you play as husband or wife at home. In the business, we're focused on skill sets, on strengths, and the value you're adding. And so when there is that mismatch, the power struggles are insane. And we're going to talk about that. And then the next thing is, of course, lack of trust. And lack of trust usually happens when someone has mismanaged money. And that's usually very heartbreaking. I've seen so many couples just so disappointed by a bad move that one of their spouses made, or money they went and invested somewhere, or money they went and spent on people they should not be spending the money on. Okay, but it always breeds, it always messes up trust, and then it doesn't only end with money, but it also translates to other things, like even speaking bad about your spouse to employees or other people. When those kind of things happen, it really messes up trust, and when there's lack of trust, guys, the business is usually doomed, okay? And then there's burnout, but there's one that is huge when people have not clarified their roles, okay? So now let's talk about some of the solutions or principles that I have put in place that I'm recommending. If you're a couple, please take note of these, and I think it's really, really going to set you up for success. All right. So my first one, which is a big one, okay, for me, my first one is really respecting each other's roles. Okay. You see this thing called respect, we play with it too much, but it's very important. It's very, very important because when you respect each other, there's a way that you function, especially when you allow each other to operate in the role that they've been placed in, be it at home or be it at the business. But the respect, first of all, even has to come before the rules come. Respect is a big deal. So whenever you're going into business, whenever you're going into, investing into something or starting something together, prioritize respecting each other, respect each other's input, respect each other's opinion. It doesn't matter whose role, what your roles are at home, but you see that respect is so crucial, you guys. I've seen people feel disrespected and they have messed up deals that could have transformed their families' lives. Don't look down on your spouse just because at home they play a role of this. No, when it comes to business, some people have some skill sets, and if you do not respect what they bring to the table, you're going to miss out. That's extremely important. All right. So remember, respect is crucial. Your spouse is not your employee. Huh? No, your spouse is your mate. They're your life partner. Have that kind of respect for them where you respect what they're bringing to the table. So that way you get the most out of them as well. So that's my first recommendation. Respect, respect, respect. All right. The second thing is play to your strengths. Because someone is the head of the family at home doesn't necessarily mean that they have what it takes to run a business. So in that case, step back, let the other person who knows what to do it. Does that make sense? Because running a business or the skill sets to run a business, they're not things that come naturally by gender or your what position you play at home or whatever. No, 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 no. There are skill sets that God has given all of us. And so when we work as a team, guess what happens? We're able to complement each other. So if we sit down and we look at the strengths that you have and we let you operate in your strengths, we're gonna win. So if you're great at sales, I'm going to let you be great at sales. If I'm great at operations, I'm going to run operations, right? So, but if we start to fight on, oh no, I should be the one to go to that meeting, even though you're not good at closing the deals, guess what? You're going to hold your family back. So it's so important that you play to your strengths. Okay, I know that so many couples, when they come, you always have the little bickering back and forth of this person not letting me do this or not do that. And it's because they have not taken the time to take inventory of each other's strengths. Now, there are things at home that I could be doing at home that make me the best wife, right? The most nurturing person. I'm very understanding, but it could be bad for me in the business. There are some places I don't need to take nurturing. There are some places that need me to be stern, right? The same thing. There could be things I do at home as a husband when it comes to, calling the shots or calling order to the kids, bringing them to order, which is great. In the business world, I may not be able to do that. I might need diplomacy, which is something that is my wife that that can play that role better. So it's important that we play to each other's strengths, not try to fight each other, but take inventory of where each of us is strong and be able to leverage that to build our businesses. Let me not spend too much time to that. Okay. So if one person is a visionary, if one person is good at sales, let that person handle that irrespective of gender or role. And the other person who is good at operations, let them do that. So take time to take inventory of your strengths and then build off on that. So you don't fight the other person instead. Okay. Then the next thing is we need to define our roles clearly and actually have job descriptions, set KPIs, and know how to hold each other accountable. You see, what happens when couples work together? There's always someone who picks up the slacks. When this person doesn't do it, the other person just does it. Oh, I got it, I got it. But you know what happens with the person who's always picking up the slack? One day they get tired and they start becoming resentful. Now, the person who was always dropping, but I thought you had it. No, you don't want to do that. You want your roles to be clearly defined. You want to have job descriptions. You want to be able to set your KPIs. You want to be able to have accountability where you know this is what we set out to do. This is what you are supposed to be doing. This is what I'm supposed to be doing with my time at the office. Please make sure you do that. If you clarify your roles and everyone can stick with that and we can hold each other accountable, you're going to be able to accomplish so much more. My time is running short, so I'm going to keep going. Okay. So, let's make sure that we define our roles clearly. If you're the CEO, you're the visionary, let's stick to that. If you're the operations person, make sure that things are running, but let's not get this mixed up. The fourth one, please schedule business meetings. Avoid commingling family time with business time. This one is the most annoying because you always have the spouse who just wants to relax when they get home and just you know, be baby girl or baby boy. Is that right to say baby boy? God. But spend time with your spouse, right? And then you have the other person wanting to talk about business nonstop. You want to avoid that, right? Schedule time for your business. When you're done with business, if you have urgent things to talk about, schedule the time for that. Get it out of the way. But please don't let it come in the way of family time. You're going to make the other person become resentful, and then it almost feels like that's all that they are to you, that business person. And outside of business, there's nothing else. You want to make sure you're having date night. You want to make sure that you're creating time to just be with each other, to spend time with each other. Prioritize your time together as a couple. Because trust me, business will suck it though. And then before you know it, somebody's going to look for all of that somewhere else. We don't want time. So we want to schedule time for our meetings so that it doesn't get mixed up with personal time. If we have to talk about money, we schedule time. That doesn't come during dinner when we're trying to have time with the kids. So we want to make sure that we do that. And then one big one that I want to say, which is my fifth one, please remember, when there are fights, fight the problem, don't fight each other. If we have issues with maybe we didn't deliver something on time, let's not start fighting each other and calling each other names. You always do this, you always do that. No, let's come together and figure out where did we go wrong and how can we fix this. Okay, those are some of the five things that I put here, or I actually have a couple more. Okay, let me kind of rush through this. Oh my god, I'm sorry guys. Let me kind of rush through this. The next one, of course, protect your home, but the big one is your compensation matters. Please make sure that you have conversations about how each person is going to get paid. Please, where's my book? Let me remind you guys, the book is online. Make sure you grab it because I go over all of these in detail. Okay, from Vows to Ventures, please grab it. But you want to talk about your compensation. If you have a spouse that decides to work in the business as an employee, how do you compensate them? If both of you are partners, what does that look like? Don't wait until it starts to come and then there's a fight now about what are we taking home or not. Have that conversation way before the business grows about your compensation. Okay, then let me kind of rush through this one. Then, of course, we want to make sure that we're bringing in our kids because we want to build a legacy, not kill each other. All right. So, a few questions that I want you guys to ask yourselves as you go home. I'm looking at my time right here. I know my team is just looking at me like, Auntie. Huh? Okay. A couple of questions that I would like for you guys to ask yourself as you go. If you're going into business with your spouse, the first thing I want you to ask yourself, do I really need to be in business with my spouse? Because sometimes some of you guys have a tendency to want to bring your spouse into the business when it's not something that they really wanted to do. So you want to make sure that it's something that they really want to do, not just something that you want to do for you and you're pulling them in, because it will breed resentment down the road when they're not carrying their weight. Okay. Second thing is you want to ask yourself, what are the roles that I can handle that does not necessarily have to do with my role at home? What can I do at the company to build the business? So that way I'm giving my 100% and I'm adding value and I'm not trying to pick on whatever or whoever I am at home and try to impose that on the business. Okay. And you want to ask yourself, is it okay to step back? Maybe at home, you're the one who calls the shots. At the business, can you step back? Will you be okay to step back and not call the shots? If you know you'll be okay, then good. If you know you cannot handle it because of your ego, please don't go into business because you will ruin your family business. Okay. Next question I want you to ask yourself is, what are some of the things that cause the most tension in your home? And could those things bleed into your business? This is very important. If at home you guys cannot have conversations about money, please don't go into business together. If you guys struggle with respect, don't go into business together, because one day one of you is going to disrespect each other in front of your staff. And that disrespect that is in public, the way it pains is a different one, right? So it's very important to ask yourself, what are those issues that we face at home that could easily bleed into your business? If you know that you have a spouse that cannot get it together, that is not disciplined, like has a lost full appetite, maybe they should not be part of your business, because that will come to haunt you guys down the road. I've seen it happen a lot with people where one spouse who doesn't know how to zip it up has gotten in trouble with either staff at the company and things like that, and he has messed up their reputation. So you want to ask yourself, what are some of those issues we face at home? Could they bleed into our business, right? If you feel like they could, then you might want to think twice about how you guys want to go into this business. And then you also have to ask yourself, is it okay? Should we both be owners of the business, or one person is an owner and another person works as an employee? Because sometimes when you have to have two owners and that have to make decisions, it could become a big issue. So those are some questions I want you to ask. Please grab the book from Vows to Ventures. I know I rushed this part so much because I spent a lot of time talking about the kids, but I hope someone who listened today, this is going to help you build a stronger business between you and your spouse. If you are in business together, if you're not in business together, you can always still support each other without necessarily being in the business. I think people have built incredible businesses, even though their spouses work a full time job, and that's okay. You don't have to be in the same business together. You don't have to be owners. The other person doesn't necessarily have to work in your business. They can still support you from home. The moral support, the emotional support, and just keeping the family together sometimes is the best support that a person can have. All right. Thank you guys so much. Any questions for me? You guys remember what I told you? The team made sure that I stick on this screen, which is for Restream. So it's like I can't seem to see anything else. But I think they're going to be sending me the questions. Okay, this was a good one. Do you get an EIN for your family management company? You don't need to. That's a really good one, right? You don't need to. So here's the thing. With a family management company, you can set it up and get it registered if you want to. And that's on condition that you want to do more things with it. But if you're just using it for this particular strategy, you don't need to. And that's why not? When you with your name and your social security, you know you can operate a business. You can start any business with your name and social security because your social security number is a tax ID number. So if you're starting a sole proprietor business, these two you can just do it. If you choose to get a DBA and an EIN, you can also do it just so you can set up that separate account for the transfers. But do you have to have it registered? Do you have to get the EIN? Because at the same time, I'm always careful not to make things too complicated for people. Remember, you're going to be reporting the income and expenses on your personal taxes, and it's an in and out, right? So what happens is you get paid from the S corp, it goes to your family management company, that's the income, and then it goes back out because it's paid to the kids, and you will call it outside help. You can just put the kids as outside help or family hirees or whatever you want to call the kids. But it's in, it's out. So there's not much that is happening on the family management company. Now, if you decided that, you know what, we want to use our family management company to do other things, at this point, I'll say, okay, you might as well go ahead, get it registered, get an EIN, and then you can have it as a separate entity, and you have the protection, and it gives you opportunity for more planning. Because if you start making a lot of money, you want to have the flexibility of what you want to do with it. That's what registering really does, okay? Because when you register your entity, it's for two things. One, for protection and for tax flexibility. Not necessarily tax advantage, because you don't have a tax advantage just because you registered an LLC. But it gives you flexibility because you can choose how you want to be treated for tax purposes, which can allow you now to be able to leverage the tax strategies for your good. So you can choose to be treated as an S corp, you can choose to be treated as a C corp if you have foreign investors, and you can choose to become a partnership if you have people that want to join you on your business. I hope that was helpful. Okay. And that's such a good strategy. All right. So I think now they brought it on where I can see it. Okay, I can see. Thank you guys so much for coming in. Um, I'm trying to see. I want to make sure you get it. Yeah, okay, I did answer that. I want to make sure I didn't miss any other questions. Uh, for anyone who missed, please, this is going to be recorded. I'm so cracking up. My team is writing to me. They're like, look at you. They're making sure that I don't get distracted by names on Facebook. So I'm only seeing the questions. I think I'm good. I don't have any other questions. You guys have been amazing. For everyone who watched, thank you. If you missed it, I hope you get to watch the full recording. And also, please, if you have not gotten the books, get the books. They're on Amazon. Hire Your Kids, Save Taxes, Build a Legacy. It's such an incredible book. I go over this in detail, and you have tools in the book. So you can scan it. You're going to have templates for job descriptions, for timesheets, even ideas of which jobs to hire for the kids. And so you can get that. And then the other one for the couples, you can get this. I think the team has put the wrong book, but From Vows to Ventures for the couples, creating a successful business partnership for couples. Guys, this is so good. Okay, now what I like about this book, I answer questions here. Like, I have people who ask me questions like, if I own my business before I got married, what should I do? Isn't that good? Like, do I need to bring my spouse on board? This one has so much, like, really good stuff. And then I talked about the tax strategies you guys can leverage as a family. Please grab it on Amazon as well. It's really going to take things to the next level. Some of the things I rushed through today here, I go in detail, but I also just talk too about how you can pay yourselves, your kids, some of the tax strategies you guys can leverage, from setting up a board of directors, how you can use things like the Augusta rule, incorporate travel with your family time, business with your family travel, those different things that you guys can do. I have them all in this book. So please grab one. And then for those who have little kids, if you want to inspire entrepreneurship in them, I do have letters to my amazing kidpreneurs and teenpreneurs. And it's for kids who are under 10 and then teenagers. It's so good. I really cover a lot. And for those who have grabbed the books, they always tell me their kids love it and they were reading with them. So I hope this was helpful, guys. I'm always here to answer your questions. Remember, I offer free 15-minute consult. Grab it. Like, this is free. You hardly find a CPA who does this, especially, I'm not bragging, but guys, I know my stuff and I love this. I love it. So take advantage, pick on my brain. If you have questions you don't want to ask in public, please feel free to take advantage of the 15 minutes. I'm always happy to share what I know, hopefully to help what you're building. I'm excited for this summer series. Every Thursday, we'll be doing this at 3 p.m. There'll be a rerun of the session again. So if you miss it, there'll be a rerun, I think, on Monday or Tuesday. But every Thursday, we'll be covering different topics. So please do not miss next week, Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be back. Set a reminder. It's going to be some really good stuff every single time. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I couldn't see those who joined. I cannot see on my screen. I'm on Restream. They call it Restream. And they're so smart. They say, we're not distracting you today. So if I didn't see you and you're on, once I get off, I'll be able to get on and respond to comments. But thank you guys so much, as always, for joining. Please let me be your CPA. Let me be your resource. Let me be your support system as you're building. For me, you don't have to be a client to get on my calendar. Okay. For those who have been on my calendar, you don't have to be a client. I want to help the business community. I want to help those that are building. So please pick on my brain. I'm dying empty. I'm going to leave everything I know. Even God knows I want to empty my brain. In fact, when you guys ask me questions I don't know, I go back and I study. So please come with the questions, challenge me so I can keep learning and I can keep getting better for you, so I can continue to simplify this stuff and offer all I know. All right. Enjoy the rest of your week. Happy Juneteenth for those who are here in the US. Enjoy your weekend. I'll get on the comments. I'll get on Facebook once I get off from here. Make sure that I can catch up on any comments and things like that. But ciao, guys. All right. Oh, one thing before I forget, if you guys have conventions this summer and you would love for me to do a tax session, we're open to that. Okay. My calendar, please reach out. We would work something out. I didn't want to forget. My team said I should remind you guys. So if you're part of a group, a convention that would love for me to come and cover something for this summer, just reach out to us. We'll be happy to put something together. Okay. Bye, you guys. Have a good weekend.